Well, Tommy, thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm so delighted to be here.
Oh, you're so sweet. I'm so excited. I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. Since I started my podcast 6 years ago, I was aware of all the work that you've been doing. You're the co-founder with Kia.
No, I'm the founder.
Okay. Never want to exclude anybody. But you've been doing Recovery 2.0 for quite some time now. And was that started after you published the book in 2014?
It was actually just about a year and a half before. So we started in March of 2013 with our first online conference.
Wow. So you've been at this for a long time.
Yeah. A lifetime, really.
I know, right? Yeah. It all leads up to where we are today.
Yes.
But when I was doing a little homework about your book, I saw the most amazing endorsement from Dr. Gabor Mate. And he writes, best book I ever read on the subject of recovery from addiction. That's amazing.
When he sent me that quotation, I started crying immediately. Just the gates opened and I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
How did this happen? That I would meet him, that I would know him, become friends with him, interview him, now 10 times.
Wow.
And have him read this book and feel so compelled to say that. And that he felt that way about it was deeply meaningful for me.
Oh, I can imagine. I've heard this repeated experience of when people sort of realize a dream, or it's this deep, humble gratitude. Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting? It's not ego inflation. It's almost the opposite.
Oh, no. It's the furthest thing from ego, actually. It's thank you, God. Yeah. Thank you, Goddess. Thank you, angels. Thank you, family. Thank you, friends. Thank you, loved ones. Thank you, sponsors. Thank you, therapists. Thank you, nutritionists. Thank you, healers. Thank you, massage therapists. thank the army of people that it took for me to be alive, much less creative and healthy and be able to write something.
That is really beautiful. What just came up for me is, do we think that people who contributed to the darkness?
Do we?
Yeah.
I think, we talk about sometimes when somebody has done you wrong and they've transgressed a boundary or something violent, or whatever it is. Sometimes someone will say, well, they're a great teacher for you. I don't particularly like that. So what I would say is, I respect the experience of having felt a difficulty, and I hopefully forgive myself and everybody so that I'm not carrying extra weight. But do we thank the folks? I thank God for all the experiences that are necessary for me to be present and whole and well. But when you come across some of the darker energies, it's not so much as a thank you as much as it is like a respect.
Okay.
I respect what this is and this energy and having had this experience, and I'm gonna back away slowly. Right. learning everything I can
here.
and no harm intended for anyone, and I'm going to move on wiser for the wear.
Yeah, very, very well said. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Hmm.
Yes, so I want to call attention to Recovery 2.0 community. So you have this community. How many members do you have in your membership area?
Well, in our greater community, we probably have like, I don't know, 200 or 300,000 people that are involved with us in something, whether that's social media or YouTube or on our newsletter list or some of the programs that we do, or the live in-person retreats that we do around the world. And then we have a dedicated group of a few thousand people who do quite a bit with us almost every day.
Every day. Wow.
Yeah, we're involved in the Recovery 2.0 membership, which is a paid membership for a group of people that really have embraced and want to go deep into the practices of recovery and yoga, meditation, health and wellness, diet, all of these things.
I love that because, recovery is just the beginning, and a lot of people spend a lot of time in that early period where it's like crisis management, like learning to stop, right? And I'm aware that on your YouTube channel, you have lots of protocols on how to stop things. I saw the whole series. It was really very well thought out, and I thought super practical, simple and practical. We need some practical, simple things for people.
Well, there's this, there's stages to recovery. And this is very important because what I have found is that based on where you are in your stage of recovery, you may need different things. Also, your personality, your approach to the world, you may need different things. So, and those things that you need will change over time.
Absolutely.
So, different people need different things at different times. And Recovery 2.0 really recognizes the need for what we'll call Recovery 1.0 protocols. So the 1.0 is how do I let go of an addictive substance or behavior? First of all, that's important to begin. How do I engage with teachers and teachings that can be supportive to me? How do I find a community and build a life, an amazing life as a person in recovery from whatever the addiction is? So that work is really the work of Recovery 1.0, which is important. So 12 steps are a path for many. For me, they were. I know for you as well. We love the 12 steps, and the power and the magic of what's available there is incredible. So that's a portal or a pathway for people at the beginning, and it can be something that, like for me, I'm kind of like automatically working the steps in my life now, 31 years later. But at the beginning, I was, with a sponsor and going to meetings every day and doing the reading and the writing, and that changed my life, changed me completely. That was all 1.0 stuff. And then, but critical, foundational, like you have to have it. And then life happens. Things like, food, relationships, sex, money, career, engaging in life in a fulfilling way. We have so many things that we creatively desire. How do we navigate all of those very complex and challenging things? And that's the Recovery 2.0 work. That's the yoga, that's the meditation, that's dealing with your mind, that's dealing with the body, dealing with the breath. Really, it's all about the mind at the end of the day, I think, in so many ways.
Oh, yeah.
But we know that addiction is a powerful force, and it works upon us at the level of mind and body and spirit. And so our recovery must also be based in mind and body and spirit. And so we love integration and holistic approaches to this challenge that human beings face.
Yeah, no, that's well said. The whole body, mind, spirit is so important, that holistic approach to address it all. But I wanted to maybe start with taking you back a little bit. Actually, if we can take one step back, I like to play a little game called the lightning round, which is not very fast.
Let's do the lightning round.
Yeah, okay. So in your early recovery phase, did you have a book or several books that really helped you in the beginning?
In terms of recovery itself?
Yeah, or anything in early recovery that really spoke to you to help you.
Sure. Well, I mean, let's just start with the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Okay.
So that's the guide. That was the original guide through the 12 steps, written by Bill W. and Dr. Bob, and contributions from many people. But when that came out in 1939, that was, the program. That was
right.
the thing that you did. And so that was, let's start there. That was critical. In terms of other books, though, I mean, there's so many.
I know.
But let's
Can you
say
pick a favorite child?
let's start with books such as The Alchemist.
Ooh, good one.
Paulo Coelho. Let's talk about there was some Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse.
Oh, yeah.
Deeply, deeply influential for me. Illusions by Richard Bach. That was an incredible, eye-opening, magical book. Back in my teenage years, The Tao of Pooh. I love that book.
The Tao of Pooh.
P-O-O-H. That's Winnie the Pooh.
Oh,
and, yeah. I can see that you might misconfuse
I'm all,
that
what?
one.
Okay.
So The Tao of Pooh was incredible, and the poetry of Rumi.
Ooh, good one.
Extremely influential in my life. I can't say enough. Interestingly, I also really love the some of the romantic poets and some of the classical writers of American history. I mean, Nathaniel Hawthorne comes to mind. Like all of his short stories, like deeply influenced me. Just the way that people use words and writing, and there's so many books. And then if I were to get into the yoga books, we'd be here for an hour and a half.
Okay. I'm sure you have lists of books that you like on your website somewhere.
Yes.
No, that's good. I mean, and it's so interesting that, I got sober a long time ago too, and there weren't a lot of recovery memoirs like there are now. So really mine were very similar, the 12-step literature and things like, did you ever read M. Scott Peck's The Road Less Traveled?
I did. That's another incredible book.
Yeah.
The Road Less Traveled. And there was another one I'm forgetting, written by, it was made into a movie. It was written by a wrestling coach.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm forgetting.
It was Dan Millman's Way of the Peaceful Warrior.
Yes, thank you. Way of the Peaceful Warrior. Thank you. Yeah.
So good.
And that was great too. And, I mean, the idea is inspiration.
Yeah.
And if it's funny, I wouldn't say I'm a voracious reader in my life. My wife is a voracious reader. She reads so much. It's really one of her great passions. Not so much for me. I'm a voracious movie watcher. Yeah. And voracious. I love stories and I love the visual medium. But if you took all the books that I've ever read and you put them together, you would really understand a lot about why I am who I am.
Yeah, these books, don't you find that they often serve to change your perspective or change your mind?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a great book I read recently. Was it In Love with the World? I think it's called In Love with the World. I'll have to get it for you. It's written by an incredible revered Buddhist spiritual teacher who leaves his monastery, has to sneak out in the middle of the night. They won't let him go. Has to sneak out, and he goes into the world. Goes into the world to have adventures as a normal person who's not revered and who's not treated a certain way. And this is true story. This is his life in modern day. So he's out there. He is on a train in the lowest class train compartment and having an experience as, this is what it's like to be poor. He's never been that. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful memoir. In Love with the World. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called.
I will make sure I put it in the show notes along with the
There's so much. Human beings are incredible.
Yeah. Well, listen, in love with the world, we kind of need a little bit of that right now.
Mhm.
The world is kind of a dumpster fire at the moment.
Yes, we're having some challenges.
We are, but at the same time, there's so many people who are sort of on this path of, trying to help others out of their suffering, right? So
Yes.
we get to choose where we put our focus. Do you have a go-to mantra or quote that you live by?
I have a go-to mantra, which is personal to me. Um, I mean, if I had to, off the top of my head, if I had to choose any one quote right now, what comes is there's a way through every block.
Ooh, I like that.
And I believe that to be a point of truth.
Yeah.
There's a way through every block. And another one, this is from one of our revered teachers, Pandit Rajmani Tigunait, who runs the Himalayan Institute. He's the spiritual head and current leader of the Himalayan Institute here. And he wrote, a human being is an island of excellence. And our job, he says, it's the greatest gift, the greatest achievement in this life is to realize our innate divinity. And it's the greatest tragedy to die without realizing it.
That is, you know what? That is something that really hits me deep. I've been working with this idea that, God is love, I am love, and, God is within me.
Mm.
And it's sort of a wrestling point of, well, I know I'm not God. But you know what I mean? It's like, but I'm not, like, I'm the creation that isn't separate from the creator.
You are divine in your essence. And just like we all are. And our job is to chip away at the things that block us from that light.
There's a through every block.
There's a way through every block. There is a way. We may not know the way. We may have lost our way. We may be confused about the way, but there is a way. There is always.
Always. Yeah.
Which is why we don't recommend suicide as an option.
Yeah.
It's why we don't recommend despair. We recommend community and a continuing unfolding questioning and a practice and a sharing of one's pain and a sharing of one's pleasure and a sharing of one's life with each other in community, so that we're never alone really in the spiritual sense, but we can feel very alone in this world. Absolutely. And people, as we know, can be overwhelmed and decide, I don't want to be here anymore. But that thought is not often based on what's true. It's based on one's experience of their life and their experience and their circumstances. It's not to say I don't have compassion. I have nothing but tremendous compassion. We just recognize that ultimately isn't solving the problem. Well,
and it's missing the gift, right? As we, find a way through those blocks, what's on the other side is amazing and absolutely worth the endeavor of searching and asking.
It is worth it. And and I've had friends and family who have killed themselves, and I've understood that it makes sense for them, because the pain was so great for so long. So it's not that I don't understand it. It's just that I wouldn't recommend it.
No, there's fun to be had.
Yeah, I live on the brighter side of things. I don't know why that is exactly, but I've been that way. I've been gifted that way. Yeah. So I'm not a suicidal or depressive type. But that's not to say I don't have great compassion and understanding of that affliction. I've been there in moments in my life, but not generally.
Yeah, there is a way through, and there's much joy and love and connectedness on the other
Always,
side.
always a
Yeah.
way through.
Since you have been sober for so long, do you, and I'm sure your self-care practice or the things you do to support your recovery has changed. What does your current self-care recovery practice look like?
Yeah. Yoga, gentle, nothing particularly spectacular. A gentle, loving yoga practice, breath and movement, just generally stretch the body, generally move the energy right around the body, use the breath, really work the lungs. And then I love to hike so much, and I love nature so much. So I love that. That's a almost daily thing. And then I love to train in the gym. I love to train. I love athletics and I love movement, and I play quite a bit of competitive tennis in my life.
Yes.
So those are some of the things I do that are really super joyful for me. And then eating, I'm a real foodie. I love food. And I love to cook food. I love to prepare food for myself and other people. I love it so much. Eating healthy and really digging into nutrient dense foods, juices, smoothies, soups and stews, salads. Those are the 5 main buckets. Juice, smoothie, soups, stews, salads.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Those are good.
Are you vegetarian?
So I'm not at anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've been vegetarian for so many years. There are times when I've been vegan. There are times when I felt I needed something else.
Yeah.
And so I'm not strict. I'm a flowitarian.
Flowitarian.
And so I listen to my body as closely as I can, and I do the best I can to serve the mission of this body.
Yeah, I like that you're not rigid about it.
Not rigid.
Yeah.
I don't have an opinion for anybody. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody should be any particular way. Everybody should be exactly the way they feel they need to be.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure. Just make things a lot easier.
There was a time in my life where I was eating a little bit of fish and a little bit of chicken at one point. And I looked at my teacher, who is vegetarian, lifelong, and I said, do you ever wonder why I sometimes eat meat? And he paused and looked at me and he said, well, I guess you eat meat because you feel like you need to. And I was waiting for the lecture or waiting for the thing, and nothing came. There was no judgment whatsoever from him. My blessed teacher, Guru Prem. So it wasn't about him saying to me, I think you need to be this way. He was just recognizing that you'll be what you feel you need to be. And then the question is, how can we expand our consciousness and awareness for a lifetime to become more expansive, so that whatever we're to be, and in our behavior and in our life and in all these ways, we will be authentically ourselves. And, try to be beyond judgment or condemnation, either of yourself or others. Having said that, we can discern from someone else's behavior, oh, I don't like the way that person behaves, or I would choose not to be that way. So you can see examples of people in the world where you're like, well, if it were my choice, and it is, I would choose not to be like that person. That's not condemnation. That's just the 3 words that I love around the topic of judgment. Is the 3 words are not my preference. It's this very, very gentle and simple way to just say, it's not putting anybody down. It's just simply not my preference. And I just love that.
You're you like movies and things. Did you see The Game Changer?
Yeah, about the vegan athletes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I love me some science too, right? And it was
Yeah.
fascinating to see the studies that they did in athletic performance of those who were vegan.
Well, it's interesting to me. When I thought about that, the big takeaway from this was that everybody that they're focusing on trains 4 to 8 hours a day. And so, and what they're saying is the case that they're making is these people do unbelievably well as elite athletes. And the rest of us who don't train 4 to 8 hours a day, I just wonder how the needs change.
Mm-hmm.
The body becomes unbelievably needy and efficient when you're training 4 to 8 hours a day. Thousands and thousands and thousands of calories being burned. And so if what's available to the body is plant-based food, I think the body's going to get very, very good at using that. And that's one of the tricks, I think, and one of the interesting things to think about for people who want to be vegetarian or vegan is train your body over time to be good at that. Mm. It's not a mental thing like, oh, I think I'll become vegan today. I know a lot of junk food vegans, a lot of junk food vegetarians who live on pasta and pizza and rice and starch and potatoes and all this. And I'm like, wow, you guys, your body is not getting all the nutrients, minerals, vitamins, and things that it needs to be operating optimally. That doesn't mean you have to eat meat. It means you have to diversify and expand your diet throughout the vegetable kingdom, the mushroom kingdom, the superfood kingdom, the nuts and the oils and the seeds, and all of the seaweeds and all the places you can get nutrients. And like that, like if you're going to be vegan and vegetarian, you're going to need to know how to do that.
Yeah.
This is an interesting topic. I love the topic of food and health.
Yeah, no, it's especially for those that are in early recovery where, we abuse our bodies out when we're sort of ripping and running. And so early recovery is sort of like this awakening to what do I need? How do I feed myself spiritually, emotionally, and physically? Mm-hmm. So everything gets reevaluated.
I'm convinced that there should be, or perhaps there will be, a treatment center model. Maybe I have to create it.
Yeah.
That will be based upon, well, one of the main pillars of what takes place there is a complete digestive tract cleanse while you're coming off drugs and alcohol. It would be a challenging thing for someone to do, but I'm quite sure that we would see tremendous success in turning a person's life around when they became non-addicted to food and they actually were eating for energy rather than eating for, say, stimulation or eating for sedation. But they were really connecting with their food in a beautiful way and changing the gut biome and therefore changing the nervous system and the endocrine system and the way the brain and the body operate. Obviously, we know we are what we eat, and it's true. It's really true. So I look forward to a world where we could send someone to a treatment center where that's really a central part of the protocol.
Yeah, that would be a brilliant. I guess you have something else to do in your spare time now.
Yeah, I think about it. Believe me, I think about it all the time. And it's a question of time, money, human resources, and we certainly have access to all of that.
Yeah.
And we all just have to follow. Right now we're working on a lot of things in Recovery 2.0.
Right. One thing at a time, right? Next right thing.
Yes.
Yes. And then the final question of this very fast lightning round. I've been thinking a lot about spiritual experiences And I'm curious, did you have any, I'm sure you've had countless spiritual experiences, but can you recall one early in recovery that made you gave you hope or made you feel like, yeah, there is a power greater than myself?
I had spiritual experiences on drugs, on psychedelics, cannabis. I never had a spiritual experience, as far as I'm concerned, on cocaine or heroin or any of those darker drugs. And in recovery, I would just say it's been one spiritual experience literally after the next, constant. But the first main one was, it's not the white light experience that you read about from Bill W. or some other people, but I woke up simply one day in my sort of just after maybe a year and a half of sobriety, of recovery. And I had worked through the 9 or 10 steps that I'd been through so far. And I realized that I did not want to use drugs and alcohol, that I had changed. I was previously a person who only ever wanted to use drugs and alcohol any given day. Like, that's going to be a part of my day since I was 13. And so that was, for me, a profound realization that I took as the evidence of a spiritual awakening. And then in terms of, the God aspect of things, of connecting with the intelligence of the universe, the divinity of the universe, a power greater than ourself, it has made itself known to me in ways that you could never speak about. And it's all the time. And it's more like a footing that you have, an understanding, more than that, a knowing of the presence. It's a feeling. And at first it's shocking, and there's a fluctuation. Like, do I believe this? I'm not so sure. Do I believe this? I'm not so sure. Like, oh, I got it now. I don't have it now. I got it now. I don't, and there's like that fluctuation, and there's doubt, and there's faith involved in all this. And there's also action involved in all this. But beyond a shadow of a doubt, I live in a place where I don't understand how people could deny the existence of an intelligence,
right,
that is pervading the universe, that is aware, an aware, awake intelligence that pervades absolutely everything, everywhere. All I have to do is look out my window right here. I mean, look here. There's this little plant. How did that happen? How did that happen? How does that happen? I mean, this tree over here. I certainly didn't do that. Well, that was also the fact that was a tiny seed at one point. Mind-blowing. The whole unfolding of everything is just mind-blowing. And I just think it's all, it's all God. People don't like that word. That's okay. I get it. It's attached to some very yucky history in many religions. It's attached to real shadow, violence, manipulation, hypocrisy, really, really the worst of the worst. That word has been attached and lumped in with all that. And so, of course, somebody's going to have prejudice and going to have a challenge with that word. But at the same time, that word transcends any religion. That experience transcends any particular path to understand it. It's available to everyone, everywhere. It's just an awareness, a consciousness, and then a decision to be in relationship with it and to experience what that is in this life. That's really all we're talking about.
That's all we're talking about.
And then being of service to people, being kind, trying to be compassionate, helpful, and then working out your own shit, your own resentments, your own liabilities, recognizing it's okay to have those because you're a human being, and making mistakes and owning them and saying, I am sorry, I'll try better next time. And just try not to get too attached to anybody or anything, Yeah.
No, that's beautiful.
Hmm.
I love how the concept of God can be sort of evolving always. And it sounds like you spent a lot of time and energy connecting with that. Do you feel that the time and attention that you give it allows you to see it everywhere in a better
Mm-hmm.
way?
It's interesting. It's a really interesting question. So, does a relationship with the unseen depend upon your attention and your effort to see and connect with it? In other words, if you don't make any effort to connect with this thing, does it matter? Are you still as connected as you could be if you put your energy and time and your visualization and your focus into it? So for me, I believe strongly that effort is required.
Yeah.
I believe strongly in one step. You take one step toward it, and it takes 10 steps toward you. But you did have to take that step. Right. And, there may be exceptions to what I'm saying. Spontaneous, revelatory experiences, but we can't ever know the full history of a moment. So who knows? I'm just certain from the practice of yoga that visualization and focus and concentration are really, really, really a part of the thing that helps you to realize what's actually going on. And it's an interesting thing because so we speak about a lot about the energy that flows through the spine. We talk a lot about Kundalini energy, this energy of potential, this energy of awareness. How could you unlock your full potential as a human being? And the way that we work with it in this particular path of yoga is to say, we're going to engage in practices to help us release that potential, to release that energy. And we're going to direct that energy through physical movements and breath work. We're going to direct that energy through the spine and through the body to achieve more of an awakening. And it requires sometimes a real focus of close your eyes and really see and visualize the release of energy from the base of the spine, moving up the spine all the way to the crown of the head. And you visualize, and really sort of try to tap into what's there. And we move the spine in certain ways. We move the spine in certain ways to feel energy moving. It's not a theory. There's energy that flows through this body, of course. So how can we tap into it? We can't see it. It's a feeling. We can attach a visual to it, and it helps to make our relationship with that energy even stronger. Mm-hmm. And then someone could say, some cynical person could say, well, that's just the power of suggestion. It's really, there's nothing there. And it's just, you're focusing on it. And so it's as if you're making it up. You're making it up, And I would say, well, it's interesting. I would understand you saying that, Mr. or Mrs. Cynical person. I would understand you saying that. But my experience has been that I'm actually feeling the movement of it and experiencing something transformational in my life as a result of it. So I just have to go off my own experience, knowing that there will be those who want a better explanation for what's going on than what I can give.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because I'm kind of a science girl myself, and there are peer-reviewed papers in journals like that Science Magazine that show that they can measure a lot of this now with
Yes.
all kinds of technology. And so, but it doesn't mean because we're using our mind and we're visualizing, we're making it up, doesn't invalidate the efficacy of the mechanisms. Like it's happening, it's a thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It'd be like saying two people are, let's say, they show up on the starting blocks. They're going to run 100 meters. They're racing each other. One of them is directed to think really positively.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to win this race. I'm going to take this great step off of here. I'm going to really go at the when the gun goes off, I'm going to really take off. And I really envision myself winning. And the other person is told, you have to really see yourself losing. See yourself not winning this race. So there's a visualization for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's just say they're equal in their athletic ability, give or take. Either one of them could beat either one of them on any given day. The person who thinks positively is going to win almost all the time.
Yeah.
So there's a visualization.
Yeah.
There's using your mind to envision an outcome. And lo and behold, the outcome came through. Yeah. Was that just made up? You know what I mean?
It kind of is, but it doesn't mean it's not real.
Well, that's part of how we operate. That's part of how we operate here on the planet Earth.
Yeah.
Is we use our mind to create outcomes.
Right.
And people forget about that. So if I say, I'm going to use my mind and direct it into my spine, and I'm going to envision health in my spine, and I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to envision energy moving through my spine and bringing this golden, beautiful light all the way up to the where the spine goes up into the brain, to the brain stem and through the brain. And I'm going to see this beautiful light, and I'm going to focus the energy really here at the front of my brain, the frontal lobe of my brain, the executive functioning, the possibility to see beyond current circumstances. And all of a sudden I start feeling a greater sense of ease generally in my life. I feel a greater sense of intuition, meaning I feel tapped into information. Mm-hmm. And it feels like I have a sense of whether I should turn left or right in this particular moment. And you said earlier, one step in front of the next, the next right step. How do we know? You can only know through the building of intuition. And so one of the great gifts of yoga, if you have a wise teacher who's skilled in this particular way, is to build intuition and to help you understand what is the next right step.
Tuning into self and making that determination.
Well, this is all recovery,
Yeah.
Most people who are stuck in addiction don't have fantastic intuition.
No. Well, because the mind is so compromised, and we sort of started talking earlier in the conversation about mind and how do we reshape our mind. And I'm going to transition a little bit to your talk that you gave on Monday. I know it's on YouTube now, but it was this discussion around psychedelics. There's a lot of information now about how psychedelics can be used as a tool to sort of, let's say, I don't know if manipulate is the right word, but sort of reframe the default mode network, which is a term that is known for the way your brain's operating system works. And I know that the talk that you gave, I think, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but it was my understanding that it was sort of inspired by the Michael Pollan series on Netflix, which blew my mind. And I'll just share a quick story with you. So my husband got sober in 1988. He was 18 years old. He had a psychedelic experience and hasn't touched a drug or drink since. So it's been a long time. And it's so interesting to see that, like the MAPS organization and Johns Hopkins, all these organizations that are now exploring the use of psychedelics to sort of reframe the default mode network so that it heals things like trauma, which is what we commonly think of as the root of addiction. And I know everybody showed up to your talk wanting to know what your position was. And I loved what you said, which was, I'm not going to give it to you.
First of all, this is a complex topic.
So complex, yeah.
This is not black and white. And this is also in the realm of personal experience.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I can say, here's my position. I advocate for freedom.
Yeah.
I advocate for choice. If a person wants to have this experience and they feel that it could be helpful to them, liberating for them, even if they wanted to just have this experience because they thought it would be fun, or they'd touch on the mystical, or they'd explore something that they hadn't explored, like, why shouldn't someone be able to do that? So I absolutely advocate for choice and freedom, exploration. I think it's very important. I believe there is a relevance to these medicines, these plants, and these concoctions and tinctures that are psychedelic in nature. There's a relevance to it. And, I say that having taken like an incredible amount of psychedelics in my younger years. And I explained that I had taken psychedelics from basically 15 to 24 years old. And primarily LSD and psilocybin and MDMA, and a lot of it. And so I had those experiences. I had some extremely positive, wild, amazing, mystical experiences, and I loved it. I want to say that. I want to say that out loud and tell people I absolutely loved that. At the same time, I have to mention to people that while I was loving that, I was also descending into pretty painful drug addiction with cocaine and heroin and alcohol. That I was having, on the one hand, these profound, helpful and joyful experiences. On the other hand, I wasn't ultimately healing yet. I wasn't healing. And so I'm just reporting in from the field. I'm not taking a position. I'm just telling you what happened. And so, I got sober. I had to release all substances. And then I had to find recovery, very different than just getting sober.
Right.
I had to find recovery, which was recovery of my soul, recovery of myself, recovery of my joy, recovery of the juiciness and the sexiness and the loveliness of life. I had to recover my sense of awe and wonder and my spirit and a connection. And I recognized that I'd been using psychedelics in great amounts to try to establish or remind myself of the connection, to remind myself of the spirit, or of God, or of the universe, or even sometimes just to see something that was different from what I was feeling and experiencing in what I felt was a painful and mundane existence as a kid in some ways. Mm-hmm. Very hyperactive, very sort of crazy. Anyway, I don't advocate or not advocate for the use of psychedelics to anybody else except for me. And what I'm doing is I'm on my path of yoga. I'm on my path of recovery, my path of meditation. And I'm constantly in a self-inquiry about how to be fulfilled in each day in this life. And that's what Recovery 2.0 is all about. We don't, in Recovery 2.0, no, we're not advocating for psychedelic use. We're trying these other modalities without judgment for anybody else's decision about what they want to do. You should be free to do whatever you want to do. But I'll say this, in our society, I'm noticing, and I bet you have too, people have a tendency to look for shortcuts, quick fixes, the magic pill, hacks, this hack, that hack for your health, hack for your spirituality, hack for your recovery, hack for your body, hack for your blah, blah. It's like, wow, okay, I get it. We want to get better and better at things. Okay. And sometimes there's this thing called rest, sleep, good diet, good breathing, immersion in nature, directing your mind towards really, really helpful, hopeful, loving, amazing pursuits in the world that fulfill you. And so I emphasize turning your gaze inward, doing the work here. And to my brothers and sisters in addiction, I tell them all the time, I advocate for the 12-step path. I advocate for the yogic path. I advocate for the meditative path. And these things have given me everything I ever wanted in my life. And if you decide and you're in recovery and you decide you want to have a psychedelic experience and you feel that it could be helpful to you in some way, then if that's what you've decided, then I support you in your decision with a couple of caveats. Like, you have to be really mindful about turning your addictive mindset on. You really don't want to kick that bear and open that up. And I'm speaking from my own personal experience. I don't want to be in the discussion of, should I do more of this or should I not? Should I try this or should I not? And that's a little bit about how my mind works. And so if I have a psychedelic experience and I really have a good time, I'm not thinking about, oh, well, that was nice. Done with that now. No, I'm thinking about the next time I can do that.
Exactly.
And that's a little bit about my personality and my mind. And I don't need it mostly for me. Right. But for someone who decided, gosh, I'm so stuck. I'm so miserable. I'm so unhappy. I want to try this. It's like, okay, so go in with eyes open. You need to be mindful of your mind. You might have a positive experience here. And if you do, let's figure out how to integrate it into your life of recovery. For it's the follow-up that matters the most to me. It's not the moment itself. It's moving. It's one day at a time life, And so if you're just in recovery and you're set on trying this, then let's figure out how you can get the best possible result. And when you're done, let's figure out how we can support you,
Right. Yeah. Integrating back into.
Yeah. That's a little bit. I mean, there's so much to say about this topic.
I know.
But there's no judgment. And I advocate, as I said, for the 12 steps in yoga and meditation. These are our methods for finding freedom and fulfillment in this life. They're also my method for touching the mystical and the magical. I do it all the time. Yeah. And I want to say that I'm psychedelically sober.
Yes, you are.
I live a very psychedelic life. I just don't take psychedelic plant medicines.
All right.
So.
Well, what's interesting about the brain is that we have receptors for those things. So they're naturally occurring.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can tap into that. And we can definitely tap into that through meditation, through nature, through food, even really conscious food, through love and connection with people we love making, all of it. It's all part of the human experience, and we can tap into the magic and the mystery of it all without taking any substance from the outside.
Well, I feel like that's a beautiful place for us to wrap up. I want to be respectful of your time. How can people connect with you?
Come to our website, r2o.com, and make certain to check out r20.com/meetings. and come to one of our meetings. Check out our meetings. It's a little bit of a variation on a typical 12-step meeting. There's some meditation in there, and there's just such a beautiful group of people waiting for you. And if you'd like to try, just connecting in with people, community is so key. And the meetings are free and open to anyone all the time. We have over 30 meetings a week, every week.
Wow.
And so we've got, thousands of people coming just to connect with each other and share. And it's so beautiful. So I'd say, r20.com and r20.com/meetings would be the place.
Sounds good. I will put
and,
that.
And definitely, if you're called to what I've been sharing, then please pick up the book, Recovery 2.0. It's available on Audible, and it's on Amazon as well if you want a paperback copy of it. And that is really chock full of a lot of information and inspiration for people in recovery. Recovery 2.0,
move beyond addiction and upgrade your life.
That's the one.
So beautiful. Tommy, thank you so much. You're so gracious with your time. It was so lovely to connect with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arlena. I'm so grateful. Thank you for having me.
Have a great day.
Okay, you too.